It's Thursday night, so you know what that means. Welcome to the Highspots virtual gimmick table. I, of course, am the guru, Tommy Thomas, the COO of Highspots.com. Here with my very special guest. Special guest, who are you?
I am the one and only Ranger Ross. I'm here with, what's your title again?
I'm the Chief Operations Officer, the COO.
Well, we could do a dance on that. The COO. I love it.
He knows the deal. Ranger Ross, I got a few questions for you. You can talk for as long or as little as you want about said topic. We're going to start off with one that we were literally discussing right before we went on the air. Do you watch any wrestling or know anything about modern wrestling?
No, I do not. But I watched a few matches because I have a friend of mine, his son wrestled.
And who's your friend's son?
Bronze Breaker.
He's literally the top star on Monday Night Raw right now.
Well, you got to understand, I've known this kid since he was born. I mean, Rick Steiner lives right down the road from me.
Oh, wow.
So me and Rick been friends since back in the 80s. So his son, who's doing very well, but I don't get a chance to watch him very much. But every now and then they'll tell me that he's going to be on, or I'll just go watch the video so I don't have to watch all the rest of the stuff.
Understandable.
And he's doing very well.
Absolutely.
He's doing very well.
Yes, he is. Yes.
And every now and then he still comes to the gym where I work out at.
Oh, wow.
Where he grew up at. And he'll come by and we'll get a chance to get caught up. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's incredible. He was just so casual that he's like, yeah, my son has a friend, or my friend has a son that wrestles. His name's like Braun Breaker or something like that. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's incredible. This quote, if you say you want to do something, it's a dream. If you write it down, it becomes a goal.
that is one of my favorite. Because when I was a kid, I was in the second grade. So this would have been 1966, I believe, 65. And the teacher was asking everybody what they wanted to be. And during this time, they was having the astronauts, that was going up in space. And everybody wanted to be an astronaut, or they wanted to be a fireman or a nurse.
Yes.
So when they was asking everybody in the class and they got to me, said, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a wrestler. And the kids in the class, they laughed. They thought it was funny. And the teacher pulled me to the side. And she told me, she said, if you say you want to do something, it's just a dream. But if you write it down, it becomes a goal. And so she made me write it down. She had to help me spell wrestler because I couldn't spell it at that time. And she wrote it down and I copied it down. And she told me to put that where I can see it every day. And I still have that paper to this day.
Wow.
And it became a goal. Now you got to understand, when I was younger, I was a very, very skinny kid. When I wrestled in high school at 98 pounds.
Which is not how much you weigh now at all.
No, I gained a whole person since then. But when I graduated from high school, I was 143 pounds. And I knew I couldn't go into wrestling because I didn't see any 143-pound wrestlers out there. So what I did was I joined the Army.
Yes.
And first I was going to join the Army, and I went down. I'm watching these recruiting videos, and I saw these guys called Army Rangers, and I was like, wow, they was tough-looking guys. They was harder than Superman's kneecaps. I mean, there was some bad dudes, and I was like, I can do that, and gain some weight at the same time. So to be honest with you, I went into the Rangers so that I can go wrestle.
Wow.
Now, most people don't realize this. I enlisted for 4 years. And after 4 years, I still wasn't big enough. So I had to re-enlist again for another 4 years to gain enough weight to start wrestling.
Wow.
And so I went to wrestling school while I was still in the Army.
Yes.
I took my vacation. I had a 30-day vacation. And I went to a wrestling match in Savannah.
Was that the Cobb Civic Center?
Yeah, that's where I had my first match.
Okay.
But this was at the Savannah Civic Center. I was stationed in Savannah. That's where the Rangers were at.
Yes.
And I went down and I talked to a guy named Pistol Pez Watley. And he told me...
It's like you took it off my list.
He told me about Thunderbolt Patterson was going to start a wrestling school in Atlanta. He told me how to get a hold to him. So I drove up, met with Thunderbolt, and he agreed to train me. So I went back to the Army, took 30 days vacation, came up, trained with Thunderbolt, and I had to make a decision because at this point I have 8 years in the Army.
Yes.
All I got to do is 12 more years and I could retire. And I have a pension for the rest of my life. But after training with him, I had to make a decision. Do I chase my goal or do I just stay in the Army where it was safe, had a paycheck and everything? So I had to okay, this is it. I'm getting out.
Wow. Wow.
So I got out and finished training with Thunderbolt and started wrestling.
Absolutely. Who's Les Thornton?
Oh, God, that's a man of 1,000 holes. This guy was... I used to watch wrestling, and everybody liked the, real flashy people. I would watch him because for every move, he had a counter. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a wrestler, I wanted to know how to counter every...
Oh, my gosh.
Sorry.
Strong.
I wanted to know how to counter every move. And so that's what I practice on, trying to counter every move, and Les Thornton was the best. He was a heck of a worker.
Absolutely. Who's Evil Knievel?
Oh my God. Well, growing up, being a kid, riding motorcycles, and me and my cousin, we had a couple of old cars out there, and I would jump cars on motorcycles.
Wow.
You have to understand, I had that mentality,
Fill it with piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
You have a buddy that's a surgeon in Buffalo, New York. How'd you meet him?
Oh, wow. Buddy, you done some homework, hadn't you?
Yeah, a little bit. You're Ranger Ross. We got to know some stuff.
Well, I go to Grenada every year on vacation. So just start going to Grenada like in 2015. In 2015, we had met some people that was there from Canada. And my wife and I, we befriended them. And so we said, we're coming back next year at this time. They coming back next year at this time. So we met down there, and we standing out in the ocean, me and my buddy, we water about this deep, and another American come walking out in the water. And my buddy said, hey, buddy, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. He said, your first time to Grenada? The guy said, no. He said, I've been here before. And he said, well, this is my third time, and this is my buddy. He was talking about me. He said, this is his third time, but the first time he came, he parachuted in over there. He was an Army Ranger, and the guy stopped dead in his tracks, and he looked at me. He said, I got one better than that. He said, you rescued me. I was like, what? He was a medical student at St. George Medical University. We went there, President Reagan sent us there to rescue those students.
Yes.
He was one of the students. So... And the guy hugged me, just started crying, and said that was the happiest day of his life. And then he wouldn't let my wife and I buy anything after that. He took care of us like we was his kids. But anyway, he's a surgeon up in Buffalo, New York, and great guy, and just most craziest story you can ever think of. And that's what happened.
Absolutely. And thank you again for your service. Ted Allen.
Oh, man. He was one of the best. Ted Allen, he was instrumental in training me. I had my first match with Ted Allen, and 20 years later, I had my last match with Ted Allen. Ted Allen trained me. He trained Big Boss Man, and he trained Arn Anderson.
Yes.
And how would you like to have that on your resume?
Right.
And
some of the greats.
He trained several other people, Mr. Atlanta. He trained several other people, but he was just very good at what he did, training people. And he also wrestled as one of the Masked Nightmares. So Ted Allen, God rest your soul, brother, you was one of the best.
Dick Slater.
Oh, I love Dick Slater. I love that guy. But funny story. Dick Slater came in to Southern Championship Wrestling, who it was owned by Jerry Blackwell, and he brought Dick Slater in as the booker. And you have to understand, here was a guy that was my childhood hero. Now I'm sitting in the dressing room with
Yes.
him, and he's the booker. And I wrestled Dick Slater one. This is a funny story. We had a double shot on a Sunday. We wrestled in Columbus, Georgia, and we drove up to Atlanta. We wrestled at the Omni, now it's Phillips Arena, but it was the Omni back then. And I was wrestling Dick Slater in Columbus, and he throws me off the rope and he hits me. I mean, I saw stars, moon, clovers. He hit me right between the eye, and he did just, and I'm laying flat on my back, and he was standing like this, and he told the referee, he said, "Is he dead?"
J.J. Dillon.
Yeah. Listen, JJ became a friend of mine, but I'm going to tell you a funny story. When I finished training with Thunderbolt Patterson, I went to Charlotte, North Carolina to get a job.
Right here,
Charlotte, to get a job with Crockett Promotion. And I get there and told them, hey, look, I want to get a job. So they sent JJ out. He come from back, there was doing production or something. And he said, hey, we have a guy up in Morrisville, North Carolina, that evaluates all of us talent. And his name was Nelson Royal. So they sent me up to Morrisville. I met Nelson Royal. Todd Champion was there, and Gene Anderson's son was there, Brad. And they put me in the ring with Todd. We wrestled, worked around, and so Nelson called the office and said, hey, look, this kid is ready to wrestle. So I drove, this is in one day.
Yeah.
I drove from Atlanta to Charlotte, then from Charlotte up to Morrisville, from Morrisville back down to Charlotte. And I go back, and JJ come back out, and I said, yeah. He said, yeah, Nelson called us and said you was ready. He said, but right now we already have a black guy. I'm like, what? You can't have two?
Yeah.
It was a guy named Joe Coltrane. They was trying to push him, and then I think he ended up breaking his ankle or breaking a leg or something. But I couldn't believe that. After all I've been through, that was my first introductory to how things might go.
Yeah, and then later on you met JJ again at a tryout, correct?
I went to New York. To try to. I had wrestled in WCW, and I went up to Greenwich, Connecticut, I think, where the
Stanford.
Stanford,
Connecticut.
Yeah, and I go in and I tell them, I want to get a job, and here comes J.J. Dillon out. Say, well,
Did he remember you from the first time meeting you here in Charlotte, or was it he was just a blank slate?
Well, I sent him a videotape. And it was a tape of. Actually, it was before I got to WCW, and it was a tape of me and Mr. Wrestling #2. We was tag team partners and all of that. But anyway, here he comes out again, and then, but he was real nice. JJ was a gentleman, and he said, we just don't have anything right now. I'm like, okay.
Ron "Damn" Simmons, and can you give your best "Damn" your best Ron impersonation?
I'm not going to try to steal his gimmick, but I can tell you that Ron Simmons was hilarious. Me and him used to room together on the road. And a funny story. Ron Simmons, I'm driving a Lincoln, because we got big cars back then.
Because you're big men.
I'm driving, Ron Simmons, Butch Reed in the back, and a guy named Al Green.
Okay, not the singer.
Not the singer Al Green. This is a big jacked up guy named Al Green. Now, Ron Simmons, close to 300. Al close to like 280, 290. Butch Reed, grown man.
The tires are riding low.
Yeah, and I'm the runt of the litter. Okay, I'm the small guy. We pull up, we was in Roanoke, Virginia, and we're gonna drive through the little drive-through at Wendy's and get something to eat. Well, when we pulled up, there was a car in front of us, a whole bunch of little kids, talking to them in the window, and then the car pulls up, and the kid just standing in front of the way. I blew the horn, like get out of the way so we can get our stuff. And the kids, they turn around like, hey, what you want to do? They had the little sag in their britches. It was about 3 or 4 of them. And they like, hey, what you want to do? And all of a sudden, the doors open. Ron Simmons, Butch Reed, and Al Green jumps out of the car, and those kids go, "Oh, hey, we do!" And they took off running across the parking lot. I was laughing so hard because I didn't even open my door. I had no.
Didn't even have to get out the car.
Man, that was hilarious.
Now, how did foolish pride get you in trouble?
Well, foolish pride is the downfall of man for a long, long time. Here's the thing is, if you're going through something, it's okay to ask for help. I had a lot of people that are dealing with PTSD or dealing with any financial situation like I was. Once I finished wrestling for WCW, I was going through a rough time in my life, and instead of me asking for help, my foolish pride prevented me for asking for help, and it cost me going to prison because all I had to do was just stop and say, "Look, man, I had people that would just, like, here, what do you need? What do you need?" But, our foolish pride sometimes get in the way of us asking for help, even if you having like a mental thing or you going through something difficult. You should have somebody. What we call, it's called a lean-to. If you go out in the jungles of Panama or Nicaragua or something, people live in something called, you take a solid structure, something straight, a tree, a post, and you take a piece of tin and you lean it to it. So a lean-to, that's what they call the house, a lean-to. So if you're going through something, I should have somebody that I can lean to.
Absolutely. Now, if you don't mind telling, if you're okay with sharing, how did you end up in prison?
Well, here's the thing is that I was going through a difficult time, a financial crisis. I really wasn't that bad. And I decided that instead of me trying to ask for help, I was like, I'm an Army Ranger. Where's the money at? The money is at the bank. So I went to the bank and I robbed a bank. And I ended up spending my life in prison for something that I could have been prevented. All I had to do is talk to one of my friends, and I've been good to go. But that goes to show right there, when you're stressed out, you're going through something, you gotta have somebody in your life that you can lean to.
The last 3 letters in the word friend.
Yeah. The last 3 letters in friend spell N, E-N-D. You got to have a friend that's to the E-N-D, to the N.
Absolutely. Are there any social issues, charities, causes, anything that you think the fans at home should learn a little bit more about?
Yeah, we should treat one another with kind and respect. That's a big thing now. People dealing with so much in their lives right now, and we just pass each other in passing, and people sometimes think to make themselves look bigger, they have to step on somebody else's neck. It's not necessary, be a friend, treat people like people. I had a guy come to my house one time, and he was doing some plumbing work, and I was getting ready to eat lunch, and I said, "Hey, you want something to eat? You have anything?" He said, "No." He said, I said, "Well, come on in, sit down." I fixed him lunch. And he thought that was the greatest thing in the world. He's like, at this time I was pretty famous. I was in the middle of WCW and all of this stuff.
You're on TV every week.
Yeah, and this guy, he thought he was insignificant because he's a plumber. But I'm going to eat. What's the problem I'm having? And we sit down, we talked about his family. The guy became my friend.
Absolutely.
So my bottom line is treat people like people. How hard is that?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Ranger Ross, where's your favorite place to get a bite to eat?
Well, I'm kind of partial to Chick-fil-A.
Oh, wow. Wow, Rob Viper is watching this interview somewhere, losing his mind. Like, Ranger Ross said Chick-fil-A.
Well, here's the thing is, I don't eat any red meat.
Oh, okay.
I haven't had any red meat since 1989.
Oh, wow.
And so all I eat is chicken and turkey.
Wow.
That's the only meat I've eaten over the last, 36 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
So Chick-fil-A got chicken.
Yes,
It's in
they
their
do.
name, Chick-fil-A. So
Yes, they
that's where the chicken is at.
Now, Ranger Ross, you have a day to do whatever the heck you want to do. You wake up. What is Ranger Ross's perfect day?
Doing nothing. I could do nothing better than anybody I know. If you just leave me alone, I could just veg out, just lay like broccoli. Just veg out, just leave me alone. I don't need to be entertained. Just leave me alone. That's a perfect day for me.
Absolutely.
Doing nothing.
Absolutely. Now, before we went on, you said that on your drive up, you had to sing a song to keep yourself awake. Can you sing it for us?
Okay, I've been up since 2:30. And
Last night.
Last night.
Last night.
And I hadn't been to bed. But anyway, I'm driving up and I'm starting to fall asleep. And I turn the air condition blasting, roll down the two front windows, and I started singing, C-130 rolling down the strip, airborne Rangers on a one-way trip. Stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door. You jump right out and count to 4. And if my chute don't open round, I'll be the first one on the ground. Airborne Ranger.
That is amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Ranger Ross. Thank you so much for being here. My friend till the END, Ranger Ross. And we'll be back in just a minute with more VGT.
Tell us how you got the opportunity to enter World Championship Wrestling.
Well, I'm laughing because of I had wrestled for Jody Hamilton. He was running Deep South Championship Wrestling. So I left there and went to Southern Championship Wrestling, which was run by Jerry Blackwell. And I worked for him for about a year. And so I had heard that the Crockett's had sold out. So I said, well, now here's my opportunity here. Maybe Ted Turner could have more than just one black guy that they use. So I said, well, here's my opportunity. So I called WCW. And this guy answered the phone, and he's telling me, he said, yeah, I seen you wrestle before that, Ranger Ross. He said, let me ask you, what about Jody Hamilton? He said, isn't he a fat piece of slob, and he's this and he's that? I said, whoa. I said, now you said that. I said, I didn't say it. I said, you said it. And then he said, hey, Ranger, this is Jody. It was Jody Hamilton on the phone. So Jody said, I don't know if you ever met Jody Hamilton, but he could tell a story. He could sit down and tell you a story, and it's just like you there. I mean, he tell these old stories and stuff. And usually when Jody is somewhere, usually people sit around so they can listen to him. And he tell these old stories about wrestling and stuff. But anyway, he told me, he said, okay, kid, I want you to come down here tomorrow, meet me down here at 12 o'clock at the CNN Center and this and that, dress sharp and all this stuff. And I came down and to WCW headquarters, which is in the CNN Center. And he took me in and met George
Scott.
George Scott. Thank you. George Scott. And George Scott, started telling me what he wanted to do, and he had these big plans and all of this stuff. But George only stayed there maybe a month after I got there. So when George Scott left, it was like on the skids, because they went to this committee booking thing. You had all of these guys that was wrestlers that was running the thing, and all of these egos and all of this, and it was kind of ugly.